Hi guys, we today bring our first video on fundamental analysis. The stock is AU Small Finance Bank. In this video we will see three parts. The first part which deals with the history of AU Small Finance Bank from the last 25 years, how the bank has performed and what it has achieved in the last 25 years. And in the second part we'll look at how banks do their business and the key parameters which actually tells us how a bank is doing its business. And in the third part we'll look at how AU Small Finance Bank have performed in the last 10 years with those key financial terms and what are the key triggers in the next 10 years which makes AU Small Finance the potential candidate for the next multi-bagger in the next 5 to 10 years. I want to share with you guys one more thing, that we are not SEBI registered analysts or advisors. So please kindly consult your financial advisor before taking a decision on these stocks. These are just for educational purpose. But if you like our video, please kindly share, subscribe, like Financial Omniscient channel. So coming to the first part, we'll see how AU Small Finance Bank has transformed itself in the last 25 years. Firstly, it started in 1996 with the name Ellen Finco Gems Private Limited. It was not initially called AU Small Finance Bank. It started as Ellen Finco Gems Private Limited by Sanjay Agarwal ji, a rank holder in CA and first generation entrepreneur who began the company with no money, no business plan, and no clients. He just had one thought, to build a world class finance bank. With his grit and determination, he started it in 1996 with many struggles all the way from 1996 to 2000. He made very crucial learnings in his journey, and then after 2000, the actual picture started. It actually started as an NBFC, non financial banking corporation. In 2000 to 2003, the company became a direct sales associate of various banks like HDFC and Citibank and learned all the ins and outs of finance in these period. After 2003, it actually became the business partner of HDFC Bank in Rajasthan in around 2005, I think. After that, it has changed really its gears and it has multiplied balance sheet in a big way in the 2008 to 2014 period, where actually a significant change has came in its management as well as its working style also. Then after in 2016, it applied for small finance bank license and it got the small finance bank nod from RBI on 20th December 2016. So it became a bank actually in 2016. Until that time period, it has been an NBFC. After that, they launched an IPO in both and listed it in both NSE and BSE. This is how the journey of AU Small Finance Bank has been in the last 25 years. In the next part, we'll see how a bank does business and what are the important parameters to look into banking stocks. Coming to the second part, we'll now see how a bank does its business. In any other type of business like consumer finance, consumer goods, there is a raw product. With the help of a machine or some intervention process, we make it to a finished product. We sell it at a higher price. The difference between the selling price and the expenditure that we put in making the product is profit. But in banks, it is just simple. They just borrow money from people and they just lend it to some other people. The difference between the lending rate and borrowing rate is just their profit. This is simple banking business. There are many terminologies and terms included in banking business which we will learn further in this video, but this is a simple way of doing business in banks. So coming to the terms in banking, the most important terms are how banks borrow money, from where it borrows money. In those, first, they can borrow money from RBI. They can put some NCDs, non-convertible debentures. They are just like bond papers. The cost of NCDs are a bit high than borrowing money from RBI. And the third way of borrowing money is borrowing from other NBFCs and banks. And one more source of money for banks are deposits. This is the most important thing in banks. Source of funds, deposits. Deposits, the more the deposits are, the more your cost of capital will be low. If other three things are higher, your cost of capital will be higher. Even RBI lends at a lower rate, but still other two we have a higher cost capital. So it actually affects the profitability of company. The more you have deposits. Even deposits also we have three terms. One is current accounts deposit, second savings account deposit, and term deposits. If we have more of current accounts and saving accounts deposits, the cost of capital will be low because the return which we pay to the depositors is less in these two things. But in term deposits, we pay a bit higher rate than these two, but they are taken longer. In 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, lock-in period will be there. But current and saving account doesn't have that. Coming to the lending side, here there are some important terms like advances. Advances are something just like other term of loans. They can give loans to banks, NBFCs. They can park some of their money in RBI and they can lend to people as loans. This is the lending side. So we'll see what are the advances and deposits in AU Small Finance Bank. What is the product bouquet they are presenting in now. In deposit side, they are giving savings account, term deposit, insurance and investment. And in advances side, they are producing wheel loans, car loans, bike loans, tractor loans, home loans, gold loans, and most importantly, their major product is wheel loans. And coming to commercial banking in advances, MSME loans and agri SME loans. These three categories, wheel loans, MSME and agri SME, these three are the major category in the advances they provided. Rest of them are a minute part of the advances only, but these three are the major things. In commercial banking, you even have current account, just like the other corporates or some other HNIs can deposit their money with a current account deposit. That's there. So I will tell what are the important parameters we need to look when we are looking at banking stocks now, and I'll explain those parameters while looking at AU's performance in the next part. The major parameters are total income, net interest income, GNPA, gross non-performing assets, NNPA, net non-performing assets, provisions, capital adequacy ratio, SLR, Statutory Liquidity Ratio, CRR, Cash Reserve Ratio. Coming to the third part, financial metrics are the key parameters which we want to look at banking stocks, and how AU Small Finance Bank performance has been in the last 10 years with respect to the financial metrics. I'll explain one by one, and I'll show even how the metrics has changed for AU Small Finance Bank in the last 10 years. First one, total income. Total income comprises of the amount they get from lending loans to people and some charges from credit and debit cards or the transactions happening in the banks. This is the main sources of income for the banks. Some banks might even have treasury departments, some other investment business. But for AU Small Finance Bank, the major contributor of income is the loans which they have given. The interest they are getting, that is the major income for them. Right now they are expanding, they are going into multiple business, they are like investing, and they are making more credit and debit cards right now, so they might increase their income in the coming years. Looking at the last 10 years data, in 2010 the total income was just 54.27 crore. In 2020 it increased around 100 times, 4991 crores. Looking at the graph, you can see some sort of a exponential curve rather than a linear curve. That's why I believe that when your revenues grows exponentially, if you can maintain your margins properly, your profit will grow exponentially. When your profit grows exponentially, mostly the stock tends to grow exponentially. That is where I feel that AU Small Finance Bank has a great chance that it can become a multi-bagger in the coming years. Next term, net interest income. By the word, we can understand that this is just the difference between the lending rate and the borrowing rate. The loans given and the deposits that is being put into the bank or NCDs. That's just the difference between the cost of lending and the cost of borrowing. In the year 2011, it was 110 crore, and it after 10 years, 9 years, sorry, it increased to around 1900 crores. That's a good increase actually. In 10 years, it has grown around 19 times. This even shows the same thing that what we have seen in the total income, exponential. Exponential growth is really good for any stock. Coming to the next term, profit after tax. Uh, we all know that the company needs to pay taxes. Actually, the business financial works this way. You first make revenues, take out the expenditure, rest profit is considered only for the tax, not all the income. So they pay income tax only on the profit they make. This is the profit after tax. After paying tax, what is left over with them is the profit after tax. We'll see how it turned out for a small finance bank. In the 2010 year, it was just 11.85 crores, and after 10 years, it has increased to 674 crores, around 60 times increase in just 10 years. In the middle, it has got 821 bump. This was just because they sold out some shares of Avas Financials, so it was an exceptional item. Otherwise, it would have been around somewhere 270 or 280. This profit after tax even shows an exponential growth, 60 times increase in the last 20 years. Sorry, 10 years. Next, earnings per share. The story is same, but in until 2016 it has grown at a faster rate, but after 2016 you see a dip. This dip has occurred because it has rolled out an IPO, so there were outstanding shares which increased. Because of that, the EPS has gone down. EPS means earning per share, but the growth was there. In 2017 it was 10 rupees and 2020 it doubled. In just 3 4 odd years it has doubled. So in 5 to 10 years it will go 4 to 5 times. Means the share price can go to 4 to 5 times easily. Coming to the next ratio, capital adequacy ratio. It is the most important ratio which tells about the financial stability of a bank or a financial institution. RBI gives a measure like they should be having a CRAR, capital adequacy ratio of around 10.5% to 11%, and they might be changing it from time to time depending upon the Basel 2, Basel 3 norms. The more the capital adequacy ratio, the more is the financial strength of the bank and good assets are there in the bank. It can take even strong economic recessions. That is what it tells. Capital adequacy ratio. For the AU Small Finance Bank, initially it was 28, it dropped to 20, it maintained at around 20. It's a good ratio. Being at 20 is really good ratio. Normally banks tend to maintain at 20. Good banks like HDFC, Kotak even try to maintain at 20. Normally RBI tends to put the rate at around 10, 11, 12 what. 20 is really a good number, so it shows even a good financial strength. For continuous 10 years it had showed the same trend, so it looks good even. Coming to the next ratio, gross non-performing assets. Non-performing assets, these are the assets which become not payable. Like there is a time period after 90 days, if someone tends not to repay a loan back, or you are not getting money from that side, that amount has to be classified as an NPA according to RBI. So lower the NPA, higher will be the profitability. So we'll see how in the last 10 years it turned out for AU Small Finance Bank. In 2011 it was at 0.18%, 0.25, 1.64, 1.73. It maintained at around 2%. I haven't taken the data of 2021. Due to COVID pandemic, every bank will have a good increase in their NPA ratios. It is right now around some 3 odd percent, but it's okay. Out of 100 rupees, you lose 3 rupees, but you have those 97 rupees. For some period, your profitability will be decreased, but they have been maintaining a consistency in the last 10 years in everything: their revenue growth, their profit growth, their EPS, their NII, their deposits growth, their advances growth. These are the most important things, but have a look even at the non-performing assets, which can turn out to be a headache for their profits sometimes. But I don't think, because their tick size is very low. Their average loan for a single person, average EMI per month is around 13,000 to 15,000 odd. Maybe in these 5 to 6 months or 1 year, those gross non-performing assets and the net non-performing assets might peak a little bit, being on the higher side, but it will decrease slowly. In the short term, it might affect the profitability of the company, but still in the longer term, it's not going to affect it. Next is net non-performing assets. We have learned in the previous thing about gross non-performing assets. Net non-performing assets is equal to gross net performing assets minus the provisions we made. Provisions is writing up, putting our company's profit as some amount of funds which cannot be replaced. So there are losses coming up. So we are or money losing because of people not repaying loans. So we are putting our own profit as provisions and decreasing the gross non-performing assets. More higher the non-performing assets, higher the provisions, the profitability of a company decreases. Profitability of a bank decreases. It has been an incremental rate in the last 10 odd years. You might see more than 1.29 in this year, even 1.5 odd percent because of the COVID. But still it's okay. As the bank size grows, the NPS even grows. But they have to have a good look at these things. But being a rural bank, it obviously will have certain risks associated with itself in terms of NPS. But Sanjay Agarwal, being a man of good mind, will come out with something. I believe he will maintain something at around 1.5 odd. It's okay with that. Cost of funds. This is also a major this also plays a major role in the profitability of a company. Like in if you pay 10 rupees for borrowing of 100 rupees, if you pay 5 rupees for borrowing of 100 rupees, in the second case when you pay 5 rupees you will be more profitable. So the less the cost of funds, the less of cost of borrowing, your profitability increases. You can lend at a higher rates, or even if you decrease your lending rate, you will maintain the net interest income which you have been maintaining from the last 10 years. So looking at the last 10 years data, they have been clear thing that the cost of funds has been decreasing. Initially it was at 10.4%. Now it has gone to 7.7%. This is the major thing they are actually right now looking at. They want to bring down it to around 5.5%. Normally the big banks like HDFC and Kotak maintains at 5.5 every year, every odd year, with the amount of deposits they get and the advances they release. They maintain the cost of funds at around 5.5. That is where the profitability of company lies. Less the cost of funds, more is your profitability, and at least you maintain your profits. When your size increases, you maintain the cost of funds at a same rate, your profitability obviously will increase. Want to explain some more terms here actually. CRR, cash reserve ratio. RBI tells that you need to maintain some amount of liquid cash with yourself. That is called cash reserve ratio. Out of 100 rupees that people deposit in your bank, you need to put 4 rupees as a liquid cash. Rest of the thing you can lend. And one more important ratio is SLR, statutory liquidity ratio. This ratio actually is maintained at around 19 to 18%, and this involves buying of corporate bonds, or sorry, not corporate bonds, government bonds, and investing in securities and debt instruments which are more stable. So when you get 100 rupees, first you should have to be 100 rupees in deposits. You need to put 4 rupees in your cash, and 19 or 18 rupees, the ratio keeps on changing depending upon the economic situations in the markets. Around 18 to 19 it will be, and you need to maintain those 18 to 19 rupees in the government securities or debt instrument to maintain the stability of bank. These are the guidelines provided by RBI, and they have to maintain that. Even if you have a CRR of 5 5 rupees and SLR of 23, it's okay, but the more you increase this, the amount you left with to lend will decrease. So you need to maintain a clear ratio with which you are taking money and lending, and you have to even coincide with the regulations of the RBI. That is what more important. So you need to maintain at least, if the RBI guideline is 4, maintain at 4, 4.5, 4 odd something, 4.2, 4.3 CRR, and SLR if they say 19, make it 19.5, 20, 21 odd something, and rest you need to lend to make more profitable. Coming to the most important part, triggering points for the growth for the next 5 to 10 years. It started in Rajasthan as a small NBFC. It grown into a small finance bank in 2016, and it has increased its number of touch points. It started with one state, now it is being there in the 11 states, but the major chunk of the money comes from Rajasthan and Maharashtra. But it's still looking to improve the demography, like it is going to Delhi, other places. But how they manage, how they do business at different things. Sanjay Agarwal knows how to do business in Rajasthan, but he don't know how to do business in Delhi or some other place. How will he manage? How good he will make? How business in those conditions will define the growth of the company. And reduction in the cost of funds. The second point, I have talked about how the cost of funds actually influence the profit. The cost of funds has been decreasing. As I told, they want to maintain a cost of funds at around 5.5. If they could bring it by next 4 to 5 quarters, I believe mostly would happen in the next 5 to 6 quarters. They'll maintain a rate at around 5.5. It will have a great impact on the profitability. Applying for universal bank license, this is their biggest thing. And they have reached to a small finance bank level after around 16 to 17 years. After 5 years of the small finance bank, they want to become a universal bank. That is what Sanjay Agarwal is looking at, and I believe they actually deserve it with the performance they have delivered in the last 10 to 15 years. They have put a really great hard work. I believe if they get a universal bank license, the demography issue will be obviously resolved, and the cost of funds they'll get at a lower price. They can penetrate into urban and semi-urban regions. Right now they are operating mostly in rural, and they will operate majorly in rural, but they can penetrate in urban and semi-urban areas where the lending rates are higher. Coming to CASA growth. CASA means important term. I need to explain this. CASA means current account and saving account. In the next slide, I'll show you how their actual term deposits. You see here the deposits, the term deposits are 84%, and the savings accounts are at 11% and 5% are current account. We have talked about how deposits rate depends on the cost of funds. Term deposits have a higher cost of funds when compared to savings and current account deposits. So higher the current account deposits and saving account deposit CASA ratio, lower the cost of funds, higher the profitability. So they are even looking at this point to increase the CASA ratio. Right now their CASA ratio is around 16% or 15% odd. They normally big banks try to maintain, like Kotak has it around 35 odd, HDFC has it at around 27, 30. That is the reason why they have been profitable in the last 10 to 20 years. So the same way AU Small Finance Bank want to maintain a CASA ratio at a higher side like 20 to 25. They want to bring the 20 to 25 number in the next 5 to 10 quarters. Coming to the next point, digital driven and technology. Right now they are building on something called QR codes. With just one click, you will have everything at your hands. In your smartphone, you'll get everything from lending money, deposits, investments, broking, 3-in-1 accounts. Even they are trying to reach people through WhatsApp. And they have been investing a lot of money in the last couple of years in digital driven technologies, AI technologies, which are going to help them to grow in their future. And low interest rates. Right now, because of the COVID pandemic, the RBI has decreased the interest rates, which is a really good term for banks to borrow at a lower rates and lend at a higher rates. It will be a one more plus point right now for this to grow more. And stability in the books for the last 10 years. Bank being stable for the last 10 years and showing a incredible growth story, like it has shown in an exponential way. It somewhere tells us how they do their business and how they are going to do their business in the next coming 5 to 10 years. And increasing deposits in the source of funds. One more thing, initially the source of funds was NCDs or borrowing from HNIs, because they had been an NBFC, so didn't have the opportunity to take more deposit. When they became a small finance bank, then they had the growth of deposits share in the borrowing of money. When your deposits increases, your cost of funds decreases, because the cost of funds of NCDs or borrowing from other financial institutions like NBFCs or banks is more when compared to borrowing from current account, saving account and term deposit money. So when the deposits rate has increased, the cost of funds will automatically come down. Right now it is at around 63 odd percent of their total amount of borrowings. So when if they maintain this rate continuously for the next 5 years, hopefully they are going to be the next big thing in the banking business. It's too early to say that it can be the next HDFC Bank in the private sector, but it's still too early. Thank you. This is about AU Small Finance Bank. Once again, if you have liked our video, please kindly share, subscribe to Financial Omniscient. Thank you. Stay safe during this COVID period and invest happily.